The transfer window has got a very familiar feeling to it, according to Chris Sutton. Welcome back to Fog Football. Good morning. It is Monday, the 30th of June 2025. Are we ready to rock and roll? I think so. This is what Chris Sutton had to say in his Daily Record column. This is the headline. I know Celtic's transfer market strategy, but it leaves Brendan Rodgers in the pressure pot yet again. Right. Aye, Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers is in the pressure pot, isn't he? Aye. Right, anyway, let's see what he had to say. So, Brendan Rodgers could not have been any clearer about the impressive impact last summer's pre-season work had on the way Celtic stylishly set about their business. Fast forward 12 months, and I'd say it's even more important this time around. Which is why I can understand some edginess that has been creeping into supporters as time ticks past with noise on the signing front remaining relatively quiet. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure it's at full volume in the background as Rodgers' recruitment team set about delivering the quality he wants. Benjamin Nygren's sealed deal says as much, a positive sign. I feel like I say this every year, but there is no time to waste, especially not this time with the sceptre of the Champions League qualifiers being back. Those games are not enough to make you feel a bit queasy. I know, I've been there, I've been on the wrong end of them. It's not fun. As much as putting Ajax out for the first time was an incredible high, losing out to Basel was a kick in the guts, even if it did send us into the UEFA Cup and on a run to a final. Celtic didn't just hit the ground running last season, they absolutely sprinted into top gear from the first whistle. Granted, the signings weren't all in place by that time either, with the likes of Adam Medea and Arnie Engels arriving after the campaign was underway, but the work done in the build-up weeks was absolutely vital. That's not me just saying that, that's come from the manager himself. Rodgers told us in no uncertain terms that the patterns of play used in the United States in games against the likes of Chelsea and Man City were priceless when it came to going into the league phase of the Champions League. End of quote. Here, Celtic did start last season's pre-season. Fantastic. I don't think there's not even any disputing it, folks. They were battering Chelsea and Man City the goals. That's when Kuhn's purple patch truly started. And of course it's friendlies. I mean those two teams currently in the Club World Cup, but who really cares about that? See that interview the guy on Sky did, by the way, bashing Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp, who's at the Austrian Grand Prix earlier on, or I say earlier on the day, yesterday. It's pathetic. It was, well, if you don't like the Club World Cup, don't watch it. But the problem is, so the Club World Cup should be good. Everyone wants to watch it, not a case of, well, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Need to be. I just don't understand what the future holds for that competition, to be honest. Um, Chris Sutton went on to say the way Nicholas Kuhn's role was defined and perfected to ensure he began the season like an express train and barely stopped until running out of gas a bit near the end. Celtic won 16 in their first 18 Premiership matches and put the title to bed during that run. It was job done, and Rodgers is going to want the same again. For that to happen the way he plans, I'd be sure he wants many of the men he's going to be relying upon in the camp when they make their trips to Portugal and Italy. Look again, I'm not daft, I understand how the market works. I'm fully aware that Celtic will have their targets who at this stage might not be available due to their own clubs not making up their own minds, and the agents are playing a waiting game and trying to smoke out the best deals, waiting to see if they can generate as much interest as possible for their clients. Unless Celtic are going to start paying silly money, I'd imagine, I mean, they may have to wait, perhaps even until the end of the window for some key targets. But it still feels a little lacking to me at this precise point of proceedings, and at the very least, Rodgers will want the majority in his squad for the start of domestic season. Having the unit functioning smoothly and working in tandem is vital. There are competitive domestic games for the qualifiers, but Rodgers has been in this movie before, and he is going to want to be tooled up as possible for when they come around. End of quote. And of course, the Champions League, folks, sits around the corner for Celtic. This is what Chris Sutton had to say regarding some of the potential teams. When he walked in the door the first time around, the juggling act and scrambling to make it to the group phase through the final qualifiers against Astana and Hapoel Beersheva, having lost the first leg tie to Lincoln Red Imps, shredded the nerves. Kolo Toure parachuted into the squad in the midst of it. Same the following year, battling to get through, having to play Tom Rodgers basically up front. Eventually, it caught up with Celtic when Athens put them out in Rodgers' last attempt before he left. End of quote. So I thought Sutton was going to go on and speak about teams that they could potentially face him, but he's just talking about the past. I don't think Celtic are going to have the issue that they had the last time of having to play players out of position to that level, but here, there is no guarantees, and I'll stand by my prediction. No team will qualify for the European competition that they start it in. And that's not a prediction, that's a spoiler.